Hey everyone, welcome to the second part of this review for the XP Pen Artist 13.3 Pro. Now in the earlier video, I showed you the unboxing, the things included, and talked about the build quality. In this video, I'm going to show you the driver functionality as well as drawing tests with Photoshop, MediBang Paint Pro, Clip Studio Paint, and Krita. Now this product is actually a pen display. It's a monitor, so you do have to connect it to a computer in order to work on it, in order to draw on it. Even though it has the form factor of a tablet, it's very thin, but you have to connect it to your computer. The driver I'm currently using is version 2.1.3, and this is the driver on Mac OS. On Windows, the driver functionality is essentially the same, except with Windows there is the additional option of Windows Ink. So if you have any issues with pressure sensitivity or any of those pen glitches, maybe you want to turn on or off Windows Ink and troubleshoot. But otherwise, functionality here is exactly the same as you can find on Windows. So here is where we can configure the pen, the two side buttons, and also the pressure sensitivity. I like that they have included this pressure curve rather than those slider controls. So this allows you to adjust the pressure curve more accurately. Under the monitor tab, it's basically the mapping. So now it's mapped to 100% of my desktop. For the express keys, this is where you can configure keyboard shortcuts to the side buttons on the pen display. There are 8 physical shortcut buttons and a dial for you to configure. So you can just click here and select one of the 8 buttons and choose from these options available. If you want to set a specific keyboard shortcut, you can just click here, reset customer define, and this will allow you to enter your own keyboard shortcut. You can also use the shortcut to open an application or open a website, but usually for me it's just assigned to a specific keyboard shortcut. For the function dial, it's called S1 here, and you can choose between these options. There's this option here, choose built-in functions. So with this list of functionality, you can choose what kind of functionality you want, like scroll up, scroll down, zoom in, out, brush size. You can assign the wheel or the dial for arrow keys, page up and down. So I have assigned 3 functions here: zoom in and out, brush size, and scroll up and down. So 3 functions are assigned to that wheel. Each time I want to change the functionality of this wheel, I can just click this button. I have assigned the function switch to this button here. So each time I click on it, I can see the function change here. It will show you the letters, and when you scroll or use the wheel here, it will also tell you what function you are using. Under the calibration tab, this is where you can rotate the desktop 180 degrees if you are a left-handed user and you need the physical shortcut buttons to go to the other side. And if there is any parallax or misalignment with the mouse cursor and the pen tip, you can click this calibration button to calibrate, to remove parallax. I have already calibrated my cursor and the pen tip, so now when I move my pen, the cursor is directly beneath the pen tip wherever it goes on the screen. Colors look alright straight out of the box. I've also color calibrated the display, so these are my readings: 84% Adobe RGB, 78% NTSC, and 100% sRGB. So color accuracy of this pen display, it's quite good. This is a laminated display, which means the gap between the glass surface that I'm drawing on and the actual display beneath, that gap is very minimal. So when drawing, it really feels like the lines, they appear directly beneath the pen tip. There is also very minimal parallax. Now you can see the gap between the cursor and the pen tip right now from this video that you're watching because my camera is actually pointed at an angle, so it emphasizes the gap. But from where I'm looking at the pen, actually there is no gap at all. The cursor is directly beneath the pen tip. I've just moved the camera to where my eye is, so now you can see the cursor, it's directly beneath the pen tip, just like what my eyes are looking at. Let's draw some diagonal lines very slowly to test for jitter. So with some pen displays or tablets, when drawing diagonal lines so slowly, there may be jitter, the lines may appear to be wavy, but here the lines, they look very straight. This is important because when you are drawing slowly, when you want more control, you're drawing slowly, you want the lines to be as accurate as possible. Basically, you want the lines to come out just as you expect, so it works here. And for quick strokes, the lines, they taper very nicely, very gradually, and it's quite responsive as well. There is minimal input lag, so the strokes, they come out almost instantly. The physical shortcut buttons on the side, they work very well and they have a nice click to them. And this wheel also works very nicely. You can see now I'm changing the brush size with this wheel. Let's test for the pressure sensitivity, more specifically how the pressure transition from thin to thick. Alright, this seems to be quite smooth. With some pen displays, when the line is turning, the curve can be angular, but here it's very smooth. And the transition from thick to thin, back to thick, it's also very smooth. So in terms of accuracy, I would say this pen display and the pen, it's pretty accurate. The pressure sensitivity level is close to 8,000 over level, so it's really sensitive. Now you do need to apply slight pressure on the screen in order to get a stroke. If you were to draw without any pressure like this, even though the pen tip is touching the screen surface, it's not going to produce any lines. So you do need to press down a bit to get those lines. So that was Photoshop, and this is Medibank Paint Pro. Pressure sensitivity. So that was Photoshop, and this is Medibank Paint Pro. Pressure sensitivity works really well, and this app, this drawing software, it's also very responsive. The lines taper very nicely, very gradually, and seems to be very responsive as well. Now this 13.3-inch screen, the resolution is 1080p. And for that resolution on this screen size, you're going to see some pixelation, but it's definitely more than adequate for digital drawing for art purposes. And the matte surface screen, it's really nice to draw on, so it's not too slippery with this pen. The pen doesn't just slide away, so you can get really good control when drawing with this pen on this matte surface screen. After using this pen display for a few hours, it's not that warm, so it doesn't give out a lot of heat. The main area that is warmer is actually this bottom area here, but I can still work on this very comfortably for a few more hours, no problem at all. The screen brightness is adequate. I measured 190 nits, which is laptop territory brightness, but for using in a room, for office use or using at home, this brightness definitely no issues at all. This is Krita. The brush I'm using is Pencil 5 tilted. I just want to show you tilt sensitivity. So depending on the direction of your pen, the cursor will follow that direction. So you can see the cursor turning like this. So if I want the darker strokes to be on the other side, I can just draw with my pen like this. Now there is one issue with this tilt sensitivity, which is when I'm close to the edge here, you can see tilt, it stops working. So now I can draw with the darker shade on the left side, but once I'm closer to the edge of the display, tilt doesn't work anymore. So it's like maybe 2 or 3 centimeters here, it doesn't work. The last app that I want to show you on macOS is Clip Studio, and this works very well. It's very responsive. Pressure sensitivity is, well, it just works. The lines, they taper very nicely. Overall, the performance, it's very smooth, very responsive. Let's put some freckles on this guy. So it works well here when it comes to placing dots for this particular software, Clip Studio Paint, but with Medibank Paint Pro, it doesn't work as well. See? Sometimes when I click on the screen, the dot, it doesn't appear. And this performance, well, is similar to that in Photoshop as well. So to create dots, sometimes I have to click and drag a bit. So that's the workaround. But for some reason, it works with Clip Studio Paint. The drawing performance on Windows, it's very similar to that on macOS. Same thing, it's very... Drawing performance on Windows, it's very similar to that on macOS. It's very responsive, pressure works really well. This is Photoshop on Windows. And the lines, they taper very nicely. I'm not going to show you all the drawing software because the performance is very similar to those on macOS. So when it comes to drawing dots, again, sometimes when you click on the surface, the dots, they do not appear. So that really can be an issue for those who draw with a lot of dots. In the unboxing video, someone asked if the pen cursor will stray away from the pen tip if the pen is tilted at an angle against the screen. So let's test that. Now the pen is vertical, and pay attention to where the cursor is, where the crosshair cursor is to the pen tip. This is directly beneath the pen tip. So with my normal hand position, the pen is almost 45 degrees and the cursor is still directly beneath the pen tip. And now I'm going to tilt the pen even further down, and it's a bit awkward to draw with the pen so low, almost parallel to the screen, but the cursor is still directly beneath the pen tip. The only glitch I discovered is with Medibank Paint Pro, so I'm drawing some circles to try and reproduce the glitch here. You can see this problem. So as I draw the circle, there is this stray stroke here, here, and here. Sometimes it's very obvious like this, sometimes it's not as obvious. Here it's not as obvious, but you can still see that blemish. Pressure sensitivity works, but sometimes there is this inability for the line to hold its consistent pressure. Here you see it. So this is with Medibank Paint Pro on Windows. And sometimes you can solve this problem by restarting your computer, but sometimes that problem, it doesn't go away. So you see here, again, I drew a very quick stroke for the nose, and there is this additional line, and here as well. It shouldn't behave like that. So when it happens, it's really irritating. I find that this happens mostly when you are drawing really quickly. So that's actually the only glitch that I discovered with this pen display. Right, to conclude this review, let me just run through the list of pros and cons. Build quality is fantastic. I like the design, I like the rounded corners, bevel edges, the matte surface, body, and the screen, which is nice to draw on. There are 8 physical shortcut buttons and a wheel. They work really nicely and very customizable to your satisfaction. The screen itself is nice. The colors, they look great out of the box. So using the calibrator, I measured 100% sRGB and 84% Adobe RGB support. So this screen, it's pretty color accurate, so it's suitable for color accurate work like photo or video editing. But of course, if you really need professional level color accuracy, definitely get those desktop monitors. But in terms of colors, I'm definitely very satisfied with this screen. The 13.3-inch drawing area, this is a very comfortable size to work with. This is almost like a sheet of A4 paper. So if you have the budget, I do recommend you get the 13.3-inch rather than the 12-inch. Resolution is 1080p, which is going to produce some pixelation, but it's a very usable resolution for a screen size like this. And drawing performance overall, fantastic, except for Medibank Paint Pro on Windows. There's the glitch there. I'm not sure why there is. But other than that, drawing performance with most of the other apps that I've tried are really good. Oh, another thing about the screen is this is a laminated screen, so there is no gap between the drawing surface and the actual screen behind. So when it comes to drawing, it really feels and looks like the line is coming out from beneath the pen tip. So that's a very nice touch that really adds to drawing satisfaction. And this time around, they have included the stand, which was not included with the previous model. So many of the downsides that I mentioned with the previous model, like parallax, not including the stand, and also some software glitches, most of those downsides were fixed with this new model, except they introduced a new glitch with Medibank Paint Pro Windows. But other than that, my experience with this pen display, it's very positive. As for the downsides, not many actually when you consider the price of this pen display, US $299. That's quite a good value for this. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention is this is good for working on for several hours because it doesn't give out heat. And yeah, so overall, a very good product. Lots of pros, not a lot of cons. Anyway, if I have any updates to my video review, I will put all that in the text review. The link will be in the video description below. So that's it for this review of the XP Pen Artist 13.3 Pro. I will give this an A. If it doesn't have the Medibank Paint Pro problem, it would definitely get A+. But overall, this is a very good pen display. So thanks for watching. I hope this video is helpful. See you in the next one. Bye.